How's it going, selectors, and welcome back to our Welcome Back Diva deck tech series. This time we're going to be talking about one of my favorite characters in Wixoss, PIRULUK. It's been so long since I've first seen PIRULUK and wanted to make a PIRULUK deck back when I first started covering this game when it was Japanese only, so I'm really excited for this. So yeah, let's kick it off. This deck is more of a controlling deck. There's a lot of discard cards, a lot of mill mechanics. In fact, this is probably one of the most annoying decks to play against, but I really love it. And as always, we'll talk about the sleeves as well. So we have a beautiful Fire Emblem sleeves for our Elrig deck. So anyway, let's talk about what PIRULUK does. So this is code PIRULUK, and as always, we have a giant wall of text here. So let me get it down. There's a lot of stuff going on. Basically, you gotta pick a number and then look at your opponent's hand and do some stuff. So anyway, it says, at the beginning of your attack phase, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand than your opponent, target Signy on your opponent's field gains -3k power until end of turn. If you have 6 or more cards in your hand than your opponent, it gains -6k power. So basically, we want to have a lot of cards in our hand, and we want our opponent to have not a lot of cards, basically. We can do this by drawing cards. We also do this by making our opponent discard cards. It also has an enter effect of drawing 2 cards, which is great. And then it has this once per game ability, which is quite strong. If you watch the anime, this is actually an ability straight from the anime. It says, for 0, declare a number less than or equal to the level of your opponent's center Elrig. Look at your opponent's hand, and your opponent discards all Signy without a guard with the same level as the declared number. A lot of the times it's really good to choose either a 3 or 1, depending on who you're playing against. 3 is a safe bet because most Wixoss decks rely on their level 3 Signy. So even if you whiff a little bit on there, you still know that they don't have any level 3 Signy that can threaten you. So I almost always pick level 3, depending on what they got going on, but almost always level 3. So yeah, that's kind of what we want to do here. We want to draw cards, and we want our opponent to discard cards. So we have, like I said, it's a little bit of an annoying deck. Of course, we have our level 2 PIRULUK, beautiful. Our level 1 PIRULUK, equally as beautiful. And our level 3, it's level 0, also beautiful. Level 3 is beautiful as well. For the support, we're running Ot as well as Machina, some of my favorites. So once again, I really love this deck. There's a lot of my favorite Elrigs in this deck. So we have Ot Eject. This has main phase and attack phase timing, costs 1 to play. And it says when target Signy on opponent's field attacks next turn, negate this attack. Or attacks next this turn, negate that attack, which is great. So a 1 for an attack negation is great. And you can pay an additional 2 of when target Signy on opponent's field attacks next turn, negate that attack. So it's 3 resources to negate 2 attacks, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good rate. We also have Ot Charge, which is just enter charge 2 for 0, which is really good to get that enter, and so we can do our effects. We have a lot of spells in this deck, so being able to do that is very important. And then of course we have our level 0 Ot. Shout out to Lucky Yuki. We also are running the Machina suite. These are kind of like the standard Machina cards. So this is the level 2 Machina Smash. This is the one that is more of aggressive. So costs 1 to play. Has attack phase and main phase timing. It says target Signy on opponent's field gains -12,000 power until end of turn, which is great. And then for a black as well, you can add a Signy without a guard from our trash to our hand, which is really good. So clears the lane, and it also gets something back. The fact that you can use this on attack phase timing is really good. So you can kind of prevent an attack, and then you'll have a clear lane to attack your opponent with on your turn. So that's really good. This one is in Japanese because, once again, most of my decks require Machinas, and I just don't have like 3 to 4 Machinas. So I only have a couple Machinas, so I have to use some Japanese ones. But this one's very simple, right? So this is a 0 cost Machina. You can only use this during main phase timing, and basically when you play it, you vanish a level 1 Signy on your opponent's field, and then you can get a Signy without a guard from your bin back to your hand. That's what it does. This is the one that comes in the starter deck. So yeah, these both actually come in the starter deck. So just buying the starter deck, the DXM starter deck, will get you both of these cards. They're great. You use them in a lot of decks. Highly recommend it. And then once again, shout out to Lucky Yuki again for these really cool custom cards. So for the pieces we're running Azure Black Gaia, And then we're also running the Miasma Labyrinth, one of the new ones. Really cool card. So let's talk about the Azure Black guy first. This is a 3-drop piece, only main phase timing. You have to have a blue and a black Elrig on our field, which we will. And it says your opponent discards 2 cards at random. Woof, that's rough. Then add up to 2 target Signy without a guard from your trash to your hand, whose total level is equal to the total level of the Signy discarded this way. Yeah, this is great. Making your opponent discard 2 cards at random is really rough. And then we're also running this Miasma Labyrinth, which is a really, really cool card. It costs 3 to play, main phase timing, 2 of any, 1 black. This is we'll be able to play the black. We have a lot of black in the deck. And it says, this is Dream Team. You have to have 3 Elrig on your field with 3 or more different colors among all members. And we do. We got the Dream Team. We got the Dream Team going on here. And so it says, choose one of the following for each of our central Elrig's levels. So if our center Elrig is level 3, if PIRULUK is 3, then we can do 3 of them. But there are 4 effects. So the effects are, target Signy on our opponent's field gains minus 12k power until end of turn. That's great. Clear a lane. Put target Signy from our trash into our field, which is pretty good. We can add a Signy from our trash to our hand, also pretty good. And each player puts the top 7 cards of the deck into their trash. So we can either, fill our lane by some amount, kill one of their things, mill them for 7, mill us for 7. Yeah, this is a very versatile card. You mostly will always choose a minus 12k power, and then some form of getting a Signy back. And then I almost always choose the milling for 7 because of some other stuff we have going on. So, yep, that is our Elrig deck and suite. All right, let's talk about the... Oh, I've been talking about the burst cards first. So let's talk about the burst cards first here. We're going to kick it off with Anamirage. This was in our URITH deck. It's just a really, really good card. It's a card that has Rise, which means you have to play it on top of another Signy. It has 13,000 attack and a burst effect of add a Signy without guard from her trash to her hand or put it on the battlefield, which is really, really good. And it also has an enter effect for a resource. Target Signy on her opponent's field gets minus 8k power until end of turn, which is also really good. Clears a lane and, does all that good stuff. And we're going to go from level 3 straight to level 1 for our burst cards. We have a lot of level 1 and spells for our burst cards. So this is Hasi, which is super cute. Phantom Aquatic Beast, 3k attack. And it says, as long as you have 4 or more cards in your hand, this Signy gains plus 4k power, making it into 7k, which is pretty good for a level 1. And it says, if you have 4 or more cards in your hand for the burst effect, vanish target up Signy on our opponent's field. So once again, just a card that cares about us having cards and all that kind of good stuff. So cute card, cool card. Next up, we have Futaze Memoria, one of the returning Elrigs, which is really great. Well, it's an Elrig, but returning as a Signy. Anyway, the burst effect is whenever target Elrig or Signy on an opponent's field attacks this turn, negate the attack unless your opponent discards 3 cards. Woof. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. I almost always pick your opponent's Elrig, but still huge. And then also has a constant during our opponent's turn as long as the number of cards in our hand is greater than or equal to the number of cards in our opponent's hand. This Signy gains Shadow level 2 or less Signy. So yeah, it's just kind of like a good little card here. Good burst effect, good just minor effects. We're running 3 of the Futaze. We also have our servants. You run 4 servants in every single deck. I got the ones that have the dual color kind of PIRULUK character. And then we have our spells. And like I said, we're running a lot of spells in this deck. So we have Random Drain, or the Japanese version, Random Bad. This is just a very simple spell because we are not running an Uchu deck. So this is just a spell that costs 1 to play, draw a card, and our opponent discards a card. We don't have Uchu Elrig, so it's just draw a card and your opponent discards a card, which is great. And then the burst effect is down a Signy on our opponent's field and freeze it, and then our opponent has to discard a card. This is a disgusting card. We also have Hamlin Step, which is another one of those cards that it's great. We're running 3 Hamlin Steps, and it's just a card draw. So basically, for 1 blue, it says draw 2 cards and then you can put a Hamlin, Master Trickster from our hand onto the field, and then it does some effects with Hamlin. We're not running Hamlin, so it doesn't matter. This is just a 1-drop to draw 2 cards. With a good burst effect that says you may discard a card. If you do, put target upped Signy on your opponent's field on the bottom of their deck. So we're running 3 Hamlin Step. This is a card you'll see a lot in blue decks these days because it's a great card. Most of the times they don't even run Hamlin. It's just literally just a 1-drop to draw 2 cards. All right, let's talk about our non-burst cards, and we have some spicy ones here. Let's start off with Columbus, Azure General Queen. So this is a 12k attack Signy. It also has Harmony, so when it comes into play, you have to down to upped Elrig on your field. And it says, as long as you have 1 or less card in your Elrig deck, the Signy gains plus 3k power, so it's like 15k, which is pretty strong. But more importantly, auto, at the beginning of your attack phase, if this Signy is up, you may discard 3 cards. If you do, vanish a Signy on your opponent's field. So this is a great way to just push damage through, right? So at the beginning of our attack phase, if the Signy's up, discard 3 cards, clear the lane, push some damage through. Just great. So it's just a great way to push damage through. We also have Dark Energy Full Armed. This is another one you'll see in a lot of decks that run black because it just says whenever the power of a Signy on an opponent's field becomes 0 or less, you get an enter charge. And then it also has an enter effect of paying a black, giving a Signy minus 5k power. Only has 10k attack, but it's just great for enter charging whenever you're doing the things that you're normally doing, which is good. We are running Phalaris Code Ancients, and like I mentioned in the URITH deck, this is just a really, really good card for getting like assured damage. So basically what it is, it's a 12k attack Signy. It also has Harmony. So that's the really tricky part. So we're running 3 of these and then 2 Columbus. So that's 5 cards with Harmony. Just keep in mind that you can't play 2 a turn because you have to down to up to Elrig. So that's kind of rough, but it's very powerful. It says auto, whenever the Signy vanishes a Signy on your opponent's field through battle, put the top 10 cards of their deck into their trash. So it just mills them for 10. And you know, Wixoss decks, 40 cards. You also drawing 2 cards a turn. Yeah, milling is quite strong. So we are running 3 of them. Just be careful with them. Just be careful. All right, we're also running Modem. So this is a key part to the deck. We're running 3 Modem, and I was actually considering cutting one of the Faris or the Phalaris for another Modem. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. You can do either way. This is kind of an expensive card. So honestly, if you don't have 3 of these already and you want to build this deck, you can just run 4 Modem instead, because Modem is really good and also very cheap. So this is a 3-drop, 10k attack, level 3 Signy. And it says at the beginning of our attack phase, remove up to 2 spells in our trash from the game. Target Signy on our opponent's field gains minus 3k power for each spell removed this way until end of turn. So we get to remove 2 spells, so that's a good old minus 6k, which is quite good. And it says auto once per turn. When you use a spell, put the top 2 cards of your deck or your opponent's deck into the trash. So it also helps with that mill strategy that we have going on here. And we have a lot of spells, right? You already saw the 7 here, like the random drain and the Hamlin step, and we even have a couple more as well. So we're running a lot of spells in this deck. This is a very spell heavy deck. So you could run the full 4 Modem, but that's up to you. We're also running Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, except we do because she's really cute and very good. So this is a kind of like a staple in my opinion in a lot of blue decks. So it's a level 2 Signy, 5k attack, and it also says, as long as the Signy is in your center zone, it gains auto. Whenever the Signy attacks, draw a card and your opponent discards a card. That's so good. That helps create that parity here where you have more cards in your hand than your opponent that PIRULUK actually cares about and some of the other cards care about. So yeah, we're running 3 Bruno. Fantastic card. We're also running, what is this, Monomin? Monomin. Asher Evil. I was gonna call it Momomin. That's too many Momos. Anyway, this one's very simple. It's just a level 1 with 3k, and it says, at the beginning of your attack phase, you may discard a card. If you do, your opponent also discards a card. So just, yeah, you're just ripping cards out of your opponent's hand. So we're running 2 of these, just a great level 1. We have Sui. Memoria, one of the returning characters. This one says, enter, discard up to 2 cards, draw a card for each card discarded this way, which is good. Good way to filter the cards in our hand. We're running 4 of these, just because it's really good effect on a level 1. And then finally, we have Thrilling, which is another spell. This one has the Exceed ability, so this one costs 1 to play. And it says, when you use the spell, you may pay Exceed 4, which means taking 4 cards underneath your Elrig and putting them into your Elrig trash. Draw 2 cards, and then discard a card. If you paid Exceed 4, instead draw 3 cards, which is great. Yeah, you just draw 3. You don't draw 3 and then discard 1, you just draw 3, which is really, really good. It even says it right here. If you pay the exceed 4, then draw 3 cards instead of drawing 2 cards and discarding 1. Very good. So we're running 2 of these. Why not more? Because you can't really exceed all that often, right? You have a very limited number of cards in your Elrig or underneath your Elrig. So yeah, that is this PIRULUK deck. A lot of fun, really annoying. If you want to be like the annoying player controlling and making your opponent discard cards, this is a great deck for it. And it's also a pretty inexpensive deck other than the Phalaris here. And like I said, you can even cut one of these and run another modem. But yeah, it's a great deck. You have good ways to clear the board, a lot of ways to draw cards, and just be generally very, very annoying. Definitely not as aggressive as some of the other decks out there, but you know, if you're this type of player, then you know. then you know. And also, you get to play with my favorite Elrig, or one of my favorite Elrigs of all time. You get to play with PIRULUK, which is great. I think PIRULUK stays a pretty good Elrig throughout the Japanese meta, so here's to hoping that PIRULUK stays strong. So yeah, this is the PIRULUK control deck, and I think I've knocked over another deck, and that's a little peep as to what's coming up next. Quite a different deck than what you would normally expect from Ray and the No Limit team. So look forward to a new take on No Limit for the next deck, and we'll see you next time.